All right, let me clap us in. Hey, welcome to the turn your radio down or your computer down. Welcome to. I wasn't clapping for you, Lisa. I was clapping us in. Where are you? Oh, yeah. Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast. My name is Jake, and I host this show. And this is Joe Stamp. We're back in Memphis, Tennessee, sitting on a cushy couch. What housework should I get out of the way? Go to Fireside Tattoo or Tattoo Improvement. They'll lead you to the same place, and you can sign up. Can they sign up for our mailing list on the new site yet? You did that? Yep. Oh, there's a pop-up now, right? Yep, I saw that. I saw that the other day. Sign up. You can keep up with where we're going. We have a crazy travel schedule coming up, right? Where all are we going? I will be at Off the Map Tattoo in like 2 weeks, tattooing with all the rock stars. They're so good. All of them are good. Yep, Hell City. Oh, no. What do we have before that? Space City in Huntsville. Hell City, Columbus, tattooing.
Space City and then Evergreen.
Okay. Space City in February. Evergreen Tattoo Invitational in Eugene, Oregon in March. Hell City, Columbus right after that. What else? Okay, that's as far as we're going. Sign up if you want to see anything, if you want to hear anything beyond that. But, yeah, go to Fireside Tattoo and sign up for the mailing list. You'll find out where we're going, what we're doing. But like I said, I'm here with Joe Stamp, Memphis tattooer. We've been tattooing in the same town for a long time now.
Quite a while.
When did you start tattooing?
I started tattooing in Michigan, actually. That's where I'm from.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. What year?
Kalamazoo. I started in, I came here in 2004. And I was tattooing there from, I think I was like 18 to now. So I'm almost 40. So
okay, yeah. So,
yeah,
wow.
but it's I used to work in a couple of different shops. The guy that taught me out there in Michigan, his name's Crab. He was a really great dude. You know, one of those hard asses that teach you the trick of the trade, but also beat you in the head if the phone rings more than 3 times.
Right.
You know, yeah. So it's crazy.
So was it more? It was kind of a traditional tattoo kind of.
Yeah, man. A lot of flash stuff. You know, you would do pretty much anything that walked through the door. If you had time, you'd do it. You know, when I came here, it was completely broke down everything that I knew about tattooing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because kids here were just doing a lot more crazy things. Like Tony was, man, that kid was going crazy.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, you guys are doing this kind of stuff, and it was awesome. It is definitely, I had to relearn a lot of things.
So did you have a lot of a drawing background, or was it more? Were you more of a technician at that point, not as much of an artist? Or
man, I was kind of brought up around art. My brother, he was more of a woodworker, but I got more of the drawing side from my mom. She was a painter and stuff like that, painted children's hospitals and stuff. Yeah. And so I kind of inherited a little bit of her talent and whatnot. Huh. But I was supposed to go to school for architectural and graphic design and stuff like that, but turned down a scholarship to tattoo. So.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did I didn't turn down a scholarship. I did a little bit kind of at the same time. I tattooed while I went to MCA as a painting major, and ended up tattooing just consumed too much time, so I quit after about 3 years, which I think is real common with tattooers.
I see a bunch of people stopping school when they get into this.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing now, or today, like at that point in time in the late 90s, and I didn't know a lot of people that drew all that well. And so nowadays, if I were starting art school now, I would be like, should I have to get in every illustration class just so I can be good enough to get an apprenticeship?
Right. That book, Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain, I think was everybody's best, you know,
man,
best learning tool. Yeah, dude, it really did.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell kids all the time when they come in and ask about, you know, art or anything like that. I'm like, Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain, best book you'll ever pick up.
Absolutely, man. So good. They simplify it so much, just like looking at shapes, looking at negative shapes. Just
sure.
Makes it completely changed my life, probably more than any class that I took in art school, for sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's something I want to jump into, but so I don't forget it. We keep up with each other on Instagram, and I love that, like, you treat Instagram like you finish a tattoo, you photograph the tattoo, you post it as it is. I've been paying attention a lot lately to some folks that are kind of critiquing other artists for really like tricking out their Instagram photos, making them look like what they're really not. You know what I mean? Like saturating, filtering,
yeah.
photoshopping,
The
all that
only
kind of
thing
stuff.
that I really mess with is brightness because I'm not a
Good
photographer
photographer.
by any
Yeah.
means, Back when, we didn't have phones, it was all like, you were either using film. They didn't have digital cameras, so I started off with like a Canon.
Yeah.
And, photographing that, I would have a whole roll of film for like one tattoo,
Yeah.
and then you slap it in your book, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now, yeah, people, from what I hear and from what I see, tattoos when they come out is completely different, man. Like, I think I don't want to say any names or anything like that because I don't want to,
Yeah.
push that on people. But it's, you see somebody doing, a black and gray piece and you think that it's like black as night.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty dull looking, you know what I mean? And when I learned black and gray, when I went out to Los Angeles, I learned from a lot of those cats, and man, they take that whole taking a picture of things, and man, you see them on their phone forever, like messing with it and everything like that. But yeah, there's a lot of manipulating those photographs, and you can make your shitty line work look really great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
do you think that I guess the question that I have with it, because I don't know what to think. I can flip through because I look at portfolios constantly and because I know what tattoos look like fresh and healed because I've been doing them for a long time. I can flip through it. I can be like, I kind of have an idea what that tattoo probably looks like.
right.
I don't know whether to feel like the person is trying to trick us or whether to just think, well, they're just kind of representing their brand. Like some people are almost like branding themselves. Like, there are people like, say, Jeff Gogwe, who just always puts a spotlight on a part of the tattoo and photographs it at a three-quarter angle. It's beautiful. It looks great, and it's his brand. And it doesn't – he's not trying to trick us at all. He's just trying to present the tattoo artistically, right? But then you have some people that are – really saturating color. They're selecting the person's skin tone and desaturating the skin tone so the tattoo looks like it stands crazy off the skin. And for those people, I'm like, man, to me, you're setting an unrealistic expectation for the client that comes to you or me and says, I want this tattoo. Wait, why didn't my butterfly look like that?
Right.
Like, well, because your skin isn't gray and I didn't saturate the shit out of the butterfly.
Right. Yeah, man. I'm too computer stupid to even make that work. So, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't really be able to
do it if you wanted to.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I don't even, my wife, she's over there like messing with her phone and cause she's a photographer. So she plays with that crap all day long and like, puts a cloud here or something there. And man, I see some of these guys that are like Jeff Gogwe that takes a picture of his tattoo and, it's very artsy and whatnot, but I don't have crazy lights, snap a picture of it outside because that's usually the best time, natural light, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just because my wife told me, it was like, hey,
yeah.
that's what you should do and keep it good like that and, just mess with the brightness. And that's all I really do because, man, you're pretty much right. Yeah, they're selling a fake tattoo at that point. And everything's a brand now. It's horrible, because when I was coming up, it was not like that. You do your job, you know what I mean? Tattooing is a really good thing to have an art handle on, but it's still your job. Do your job, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't make it out to what it's not. You know, you're not, and this whole I want to be famous bullshit is just ridiculous to me.
But it's probably a mindset that's here to stay at least for some time because
of course.
People that have come up in tattooing in the last 10 years have known tattooing as a way to become – I mean, arguably, the most famous tattooers are more famous than the most famous painters at this point, which is, like, completely baffling to me.
Yeah.
But it's probably true. I mean, they're up there at least. They're considered.
Man, it's gotten to a point where it's getting out of control because now you have it on television. Mm-hmm. You have it. Everybody can tap into everybody's lives on social media stuff and, see what they do on a daily basis. They glorify it like it's some, out of this world. But, I learned from a lot of like older tattooers. This guy, Paul Livingston, he was an Ohio tattooer from like 1955 to probably 88 when, the whole AIDS epidemic came out.
Yeah.
Tattooers dropped off, they didn't want to have anything to do with that kind of thing. But you talk to like people like Mike Skyver, those folks that have been in this for ages, and this wasn't supposed to be for everyone. This wasn't supposed to be for the normal person learning this, and now everyone can learn it. And, when you're seeing, those people tell you things, and I mean, when I sat down, I'd sit down with this guy from like 6 in the morning until like 10 in the morning, and we would talk about him tattooing. He would go and check out weapons before he would go home to hang out with his family. Then he would go tattoo. And then,
Check out weapons.
yeah, he was a weapons technician from, I think, like probably mid-afternoon to later afternoon, and then he would tattoo at night. And midway through that, he would, go see his family and whatnot. He has a daughter that I think she still tattoos, or she's in the business, but he married a preacher, and they're super great kids. And one day he just came into my shop that I was working at in Michigan, and he was selling tattoo machines that he was building. So I was like, hey, man, you got any old ones or anything like that? And he's like, yeah, I'll be right back. And, most of the time when you hear I'll be right back, you never see those people ever again, like anywhere through. But he came back with a cigar box, like filled with so many tattoo machines. And I mean, I think I just had sold a couple of them to a tattoo history museum not too long ago. And it was an old Tattoo Charlie, Alfred Zeiss machine. But I got kind of that history from everything. And how I see it is that none of this TV, none of this glorifying it and stuff should even happen.
Yeah, you don't see that.
I don't appreciate it. And it's not that I don't want to see kids progress or, come with the times and everything like that. It's all well and good.
Yeah.
But these tattoo schools that you have nowadays, man, that's a real big bummer.
Yeah.
Because if you look at any old tattooers set up from like in the 50s to late 60s or early 60s, I mean, if you saw like their steam boxes, they had like switches and gauges and everything like that to make it so much more complicated than what it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? That right there should tell you that they were trying to keep the average person away from this, because now that you're putting everybody in this, it's going to put a damper on a lot of us. It's going to bring new regulations toward us. It's going to make people have to have some goofy education to do it. You're not going to be able to get in an apprenticeship no more. You're going to get, taught by somebody that doesn't even know what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I get into off the subject about it because
I think
it really means a lot to me for the actual history of our craft. You know what I mean?
You're touching on some of the hottest kind of like topics that come up in the online conversations on our show and things like that. And it's interesting. It's always great to hear people's opinions on it. Let me ask this. And I've never been through a tattoo school. I've been contacted by a few people that run tattoo schools that would like to talk on the show about why they're legitimate, and I'm more than happy for them to do it. Our platform here is for everyone to have an equal voice, right?
For sure.
So think about for a second. Now, we're in an industry now that's growing, and everyone that wants to get into art wants to get into tattooing. It seems like, right? So what we end up with on the flip side of that are apprenticeships that are incredibly watered down. We end up with apprentice factories, right?
Yeah.
So apprenticeships aren't what they were 20 years ago when we were doing apprenticeships. Not that they were all great then. The guy that apprenticed me couldn't draw anything, but at least he had some idea on how to put ink into skin. He was a technician, right?
Yeah.
So what I find now, and the reason that I'm more than happy to entertain the tattoo schools and the people that want to bring them up, is that we have, how many people do you guys see that that comment on our show that send in emails that say, hey, I'm from small town Oklahoma. There are 3 shops in my town. The only one I can get an apprenticeship at, the guy that owns the shop has been tattooing 3 years. He has 4 apprentices. Nobody can draw.
That's so insane.
Right. So but this is a real problem that we're dealing with. So the idea that we say, well, the apprenticeships are the only way to go. To me, it's like, well, we're coming from an older mindset, and apprenticeships that are done properly are the way to go. But not all apprenticeships are created equally anymore, or probably never were.
No.
But they're definitely not now.
Well, and now you say that watered down situation, and yeah. When I wanted to get an apprenticeship, I had people like one of these 3 of these guys came into our town, and man, they blew the socks off of everyone. And I went to them. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm really dedicated to drawing. I really want this." And I think I was like 15 years old, and I had drawn stuff for tattoo shops around my hometown and whatnot. And man, I learned that I had to be very that hang around kid. I think I sat on a porch and they told me, go home, kill yourself, or go home, do this, or if you have something else to do,
or something,
pretty much, man.
Yeah.
They told me, don't ever come back here, and I was like, well, all right, man. Well, I'll see you tomorrow,
Yeah.
And then that got me my foot in the door because I showed a dedication, some heart to it, you know what I mean? And that's one thing that in this industry sometimes is the heart is lacking.
Yeah.
And, the heart that it used to have was awesome because, man, there was a lot of tattooers out there struggling. There was a lot of tattooers out there that were going through hardships, trying to, get a hold of this business, from people that didn't even want to show it to them. Because now, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that knocks on your door, oh, you can draw? Well, cool. We'll make money off of you. Because now it's not that hard anymore. It's numbers. It's, they want people to come in there so they make that money hand over fist. We're going to pack 30 dudes into one place, make as much money as we can off you, boot you, get a new crew in here. You know what I mean? And it just keeps going that way. And nowadays, everybody wants to be that rock star. They want to have. I really don't know. I try not to burn bridges and stuff like that. I've always learned that, staying close to someone is better than, talking shit or being shitty to them. Because in this industry, all we had was each other back then, and now it's just.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems. These shows, everything that comes out, in a platform like your guys is where you're actually talking to these people that are actually have a sensible voice about something is awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah.
But I think
that's the thing. As tattooing grows at an exponential clip, which it is. I mean, it's doubling every few years. And one thing that those shows have done is they've made our clientele more comfortable with the idea of what's possible in tattooing, what it's like to walk into a tattoo shop. Think about how intimidating tattoo shops really are. It's hard sometimes when you walk into the same shop every day and it's where you work. But
sure.
I mean, go to another town, just walk in someone's shop, even as a veteran tattooer, you'll get It's a little bit intimidating,
it is.
And so that's one thing that the publicity of tattooing has done, is that it's made our clientele a little more open. I think we probably have more say in what we do and the decisions that we make within a tattoo than we did years and years ago when people came in with a very specific idea in mind.
Yeah, or you can just pick it off the wall.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that to me was that's how it should have started. But some of these kids that are coming up now just want to knock the socks right off of fucking anything. You know what I mean? They want to do the biggest tattoo, but they're not putting the time into making it look great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're slapping it on and going, whatever.
Yeah.
I heard it from a kid the other day. He's this young kid, and he texts me all the time asking questions. And he said, midway through this tattoo, I knew it was falling apart, so I just kind of finished it. And I was like, so you're telling me you respect me and you're looking up to me, but you say the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Man, and I got really upset. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, man, don't ever say that to me again.
Yeah.
You know, just take your time, you know, from what used to be this big. All you have to worry about is an inch or two at a time. You know what I mean? And that's what we should go by nowadays for
Yeah.
a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
Stop being so big and bring it down to that inch at a time again, you know.
I think it's definitely something that gets lost in the mix, especially, we were talking about Instagram photos or Facebook photos earlier. People are thinking, I'm putting words in, I'm speaking for people that I probably shouldn't be, but in my mind, when I look at a lot of the tattooers that I see, a lot of tattooers that send in portfolios, I feel like that they are worried about getting that photo and it looks good, and then the rest of the life of the tattoo doesn't really matter anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
so a tattoo's falling apart. How can I get it close enough that I can get a good photo and make it look like I did a good job? And then from there on out, it's it's that person's problem. It's not my problem
it's
anymore.
not too much of the longevity anymore. It's you know, here and now. And yeah, that's a bummer. You know?
That part
It
definitely
really
is. Yeah.
It's the part of it, because I remember, you know, if you look at some of those old timers tattoos, they're still holding up pretty well from, you know, 20 years ago. And I've seen tattoos that these kids have come out with that, you know, I've got work on me that's, man, over 15 to 20 years old now. And I'm just look back and I'm like, man, that dude did a solid tattoo. Even, you know, he wasn't very good, but it's still there, and it's still, you know, nothing's furred out. Nothing's, you know, you can't read it anymore, you know.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, man. It's.
Yeah. Let me change gears for just a second, because I want to make sure we get into this. And like I asked you beforehand to make sure you were good talking about it. I've never talked much about I had a big break from tattooing because of a family issue. You had a motorcycle accident 5 years ago, 6 years ago. You had, at the time, how old were your daughters?
They were just one almost.
Okay, so twin daughters, a year old, full-time tattooer, motorcycle accident, lost your leg,
Broke my neck.
broke your neck. And I remember, the whole Memphis tattoo community learned about it. I did a bunch of Joe Stamp tattoos for the Joe Stamp benefit.
man,
we all, like, the whole town came together and did that. And I didn't know it sounded real dire at that point. Like, he has new twin girls. We don't know if he'll ever tattoo again. We don't know what's going to happen with him, trying to raise money. And not to go too far down that, but the reason I bring it up is because we have a lot of young tattooers that watch this show that probably don't have health insurance, probably just really depend on, like, they kind of fly by the seat of their pants. Sorry for you guys if you're not one of those people, but definitely some of you guys are those people as I talk to you. They're kind of invincible. They're 25 years old. They're rock star tattooers. They're traveling the world. Nothing's going to stop them. Talk a little bit about just that experience, what it was like.
Yeah, man. It only takes a day of, like, and you play that shoulda, coulda, woulda thing over in your head a lot with it. And, if I would have left 5 minutes earlier from here, 5 minutes earlier from there, and then, then when it actually happens, like, I remember, like, laying on the ground going, shit, what am I going to do? I have, money in the bank that'll get us by for a couple months, but I'm like,
instantly you're thinking about that.
I'm busted, and I'm thinking about my wife and my kids. This whole situation is just, I knew in my head I was fucked. Everything was going to go downhill. I didn't know at the time that people were going to be so nice and so generous and so rad. Like, everybody was so great. But man, it only takes a second for, your rock star head to just, like, collapse.
Right.
And, like, everything just to go to, like, man, am I going to lose my house that we're living in? Am I going to lose everything that we have, And, still, it's kind of the thing where if you didn't have somebody to kind of help you scoop you up off of the ground, you'd be nowhere.
Yeah.
Because having no insurance, it's you don't know how great insurance is until you really do have it or you don't have it,
Yeah.
But man, it was. I think when they sent me my last bill, it looked like a phone number, and I thought I had to call it. You know what I mean? I was like, "How much? This is like what? No, that's not even real to me." So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the girl that hit me didn't have insurance. She had like I think it covered 26,000 of 1.7 million
Right.
or something like
Yeah.
that it was, and man, it it was crazy because then you're depending on everyone else.
Yeah.
And at a certain point of it, they told me I was going to be out for a year. And I had, I was in the hospital, like thinking of things that I could do to get us back on track, get things that my wife could do, or, something if I could sell things, if I could sell everything that I had off. But then just like people started helping out and, tattooers that I had met, kids that I had met on the road, just like hanging out. Um, People that we used to have an old house called 412 Douglas that we used to have rock shows in, but man, all those like old Kalamazoo kids like came through, and they
Yeah.
were like helping out back home. They were helping out in West Coast where like some Mexican tattooers that were really great to me. They sold art. They skateboarding community, Woodward Camp. I have to give a big shout out to them because those kids were rad, and everybody like Tony Hawk, Steve Cavallero, like all of those kids
That
that
is
like
crazy.
came out of the woodwork too and were cool to me, and I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
these professional skateboarders, and
Yeah.
my buddy Matt Henry, he's a filmer, and that's how I kind of got hooked up with them. He pushed it on them, and like then they helped, and like it kind of cascaded into all these people, and then just one day I was like, man, I have to do something and get out of this bed, It couldn't stand anymore. So they were telling me, you got to have time to heal. You've got to have time for this. And they were like, well, once you get a leg, you're going to have to get used to it. I was like, well, 32 years of walking, my man.
Yeah, I'll
You
figure it
give me
out.
that fucking leg, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So, and
Like,
that's pretty much
if I
where
can
it
push
went.
a foot switch
Yeah.
with it, I'm good.
Damn right, and that's all it's changed is like
Right.
I used my left foot instead of my right foot now, and I just got after it, They told me, take your time, settle down, and I was like, man, I think it was 3 surgeries, 27 days later, and I was out of that hospital. I
Wow.
told them that, they were like, well, we have to wean you off the drugs. So I pulled it out of my arm. I was like, what's next? Let's
Yeah.
get this rolling.
Yeah.
You guys are really sitting on your hands right now. Let's get this,
Yeah.
whole thing going. I want to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Looking up at a ceiling the whole time is it gets to you. And plus,
Sure.
an artistic mind gets lost in itself, and it's really brutal
Yeah.
on your psychic,
Yeah.
psyche and everything. But I had friends coming through like, get out of bed today. We're walking. We're getting out of here. And I think at the end of the 27 days that they had told me, well, you have to walk 80 steps, with crutches, and I kicked open a door, went around the whole thing, and I came back and I was like, pink slips today,
All right. Let's get out of here.
So, and a guy from Nashville, he is a double amputee. I had met him like a couple of weeks before that, and man, I don't know.
Before the accident?
Yeah, and
Really?
I mean, we'd hung out, and I had not even thought about like. I looked at him and I was like, "Man, you're not a double amputee. Get the fuck out of here."
Huh.
Nothing was different with him.
Yeah.
And the choice of getting rid of my leg was my own. So I told him like, let's get rid of that joker. Let's get this stuff done.
Yeah.
Because they would have to
Because
fillet
the
a
heal
whole.
time was going to be a lot
Yeah.
longer.
And I was like, man, the innovations, and I just kept on thinking of him. And he actually reached out to a guy here, Ted Snell from Snell CFI Prosthetics, and he got me a leg. And once they gave me that leg, it was done. I told everyone, stop sending money, stop doing all of this. I can work now. Like,
Yeah.
it made me really uncomfortable to be around people in a wheelchair. I didn't
Yeah.
want them to look at me like that.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't have like stickers on my car or nothing like
Right.
that. I don't use parking spaces that people need to really utilize. Like I can walk, I'm good. I'm golden. When I was ready to go, I was ready to go. But you have to take that rock star mentality, put that in a whole different spot now, You have to put that into getting back on the horse and riding, and
From a tattoo standpoint, did it cost you much in terms of clientele? Did you hit the ground running?
no,
You
man.
you had a lot of support,
Because
obviously.
with me and my clients, I stay really personable. You know what I mean? I give out my phone number to every single one of them.
Yeah.
Call me anytime, day or night. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I treat them more like family than I do clients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we stay in contact all the time. Like, it's kind of crazy because like this one sticks out, and I just tattooed him today. This kid, he had like stage 4 cancer, and it kept on going back and forth. He was having a lot of problems, but he was like a basketball player, and he was just about to get started, but he was going through chemo and stuff, and I kept on, man, get through that, and we'll figure out the tattooing thing. But being in that hospital situation, we talked a whole lot about it together. So his mom called me a couple of days, I think maybe like a week ago, and said that he had passed away. And so his father took over his spot and like gave him the tattoo today. And he was like, man, you and Frank had like gotten really tight to each other. And I was like, yeah, man, you go through a situation like that. It doesn't just, a leg or cancer or something like that. It you just have to get up and go. And that kid was motivated, and that's why we connected, I guess. But it's crazy.
It's amazing. That's a great point, because it's amazing how you end up kind of finding clients that are in similar situations. And of course, in our situation, we're both doing pretty large scale tattoos. So a lot of times we're sitting next to people for hours and hours on end, and sometimes 30 or 40 hours by the end of the tattoo or something like that. And so you've really developed a relationship, and it's amazing how many like parallels I've drawn with my clients' lives. You know what I mean? Like we, Emily and I lost our son a few years ago, and I'm tattooing someone whose son basically like was at the bottom of a pool for 10 minutes and was resuscitated. He's like 12 years old now, but he has a lot of issues. And so we've like instantly, man, I somehow I learned that about those people within the first 3 hours that I was tattooing. I was tattooing the guy, and his wife was there with him. And I forget, they saw a painting that I'd made of my son. They asked who it was, and so then the whole thing about Justice went about losing him. And then they told me their story. And so, like, those people are with me, like, from now on. Whether I'll probably tattoo them. Like, because of that, I'll probably tattoo 60% of their bodies, because they're so we're dedicated to each other at this point.
For sure.
But even if I didn't, like, you just like, it's amazing how you find those people, and you'll never forget tattooing those people. It's like,
no, man, for sure. Like I keep drawings from everyone, you know what I mean, and I have numbers in my phone that I hardly, it's like Jane Dragon Tattoo, or like Phil this or that. You know, I don't really have like names specifically for them, but. You went into all that about, just a little bit of time with someone. You can have that big rock star attitude about it, or you can be super rad and like get to know those people, because you are there with them for a while. Yeah. And with me, I would rather make somebody feel good throughout the whole situation. And I tell you what, that one moment of you being super rad to those folks, and that's what's going to make them tell 20 more people that, man, I had a great time with this guy. We bullshitted, or we joked, or we cried together, because I've found myself getting very misty over a lot of things, you know what I mean? And, tattooers, as much as they want to be tough guys, are very emotional people. And they, if you can let that open a little bit to people that you don't even know, because they're letting you into a situation that they're nervous about or they're emotional for.
Yeah, it's a vulnerable situation.
Yeah,
people
for sure, man.
are put in, and they put themselves in, and you're absolutely right. The more comfortable you can make people in that position, they don't, you're their lifetime tattooer at
Yeah,
that point,
for sure, man.
and you can't even tell. Like, people could come to me and say, I want this black and gray piece, and I could say, like, you know who'd be awesome at that? My buddy Joe Stamp. He's just a few blocks over. You should go check him out. And they'd be
sure.
like, well, no, how will you do it? How's it good for you to do it? Because they're just dedicated. It's like, I kind of want it like this, but really I want it however you do it, because we've already got our relationship.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it just takes a little bit of time. You just got to be cool to people, and a lot of times people just want to be those rock star and very dickheadish. Their egos outweigh fucking being nice to people sometimes, man.
That is unfortunate, but it's true.
Yeah. And I always go back to that all back in the day tattooers, you know what I mean? Because those were the days of, I can see where the mentality comes from in these rock star kids, because they didn't want to talk to you. They wanted to give you your tattoo, then you fuck off. You know what I mean? It's not like it is now. There's people that are a little bit more open and a little bit more compatible, I guess.
Yeah. And people spend a lot more money today than they did 20 years ago, and they deserve a little better treatment, to be honest.
For sure, man. You're buying a car for some of these, tattoos you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. Where are we on time? We've been going for a little while. Okay, cool. We're doing good. I really wanted to touch on that, because I don't know what point I was trying to get across, other than, that life can throw real curveballs. And I think a lot of times when you're 25, you're making $150, $200 an hour. A lot of times, people are, you can sit down at any bar and everybody's like, oh, you do tattoos at wherever, and I want to talk to you about this or that. And like, kids feel like celebrities. They're making big money, and it takes a kid texting and hitting you on a motorcycle to change all of that. And if you're not putting 50 of that $200 an hour in the bank, you're in trouble, man.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I lost my nest egg. I had to sell all my favorite things, and it sucks, man. Material possessions, you have to get over it, because you can get those back. You can't get lives back, And when that stuff happens, you're going to lose all of that kind of, well, I've got all this shit, Well, what if you don't have a rich dad or uncle to bail you out, I could ask my mom for $20 and she'd tell me to this day, get a job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, get a real job.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's funny to me, because if you don't have any trust fund or shit like that, and you're just a kid on your own, that's how you're going to be. You're going to be on your own. Yeah. Nobody's going to help you. Sometimes if you weren't that nice to people, and you have that dickhead rock star attitude,
you're definitely not getting
everybody's going to be like, well, that kid was an asshole to me.
All right.
Good luck. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's going to be rough for you.
Yeah. But, your experience with the tattoo community, the skateboard community, everyone coming to help you out, I think really speaks to since tattooing has become such an online and Instagram-based thing, and it's amazing how supportive they've become of each other. I mean, we had I can't tell you how many people. The kid Clint Cummings that died of cancer a year or so ago, that was one of the Ink Master kids. Like, there was so much support for him when he was dying. What's his name that just died last week in Nashville?
Mike Fight.
Mike Fight. Look at the outpour of just the art being donated, the money being donated. It's amazing what an incredibly supportive community it really is.
And that's just it, too, is that community. Man, if we don't stick together, then it's going to have a really hard fall when it comes apart, because one day people are going to be like, oh, I'm over watching this shit on TV.
Right.
Or this is not going to be the cool thing anymore. A robot's going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
and in a lot of other industries, you call this a bubble, and we are definitely in a tattoo bubble. There, it has to be.
And right now, yeah, man, it's gotten so it's commercializing our industry right now, and man, it makes us look like a bunch of whimpering babies. You know what I mean?
Just
for
the reality shows and things like that.
Yeah, man, come on. Yeah. I don't think I've ever walked into a shop and been like, man, you guys, I need to,
Right.
Come on, dude, just go in there and do the best you can, you know. But I tell you what, though, it really can crush some spirits on that show.
Yeah.
You know, your line work sucks, or this sucks, or you know that's got too many fingers, or you did a wrong foot. You know what I mean? It just comes down to so many goofy things out there.
Yeah.
Just you know, if you, I can't say it. You know, every tattooer out there, you've had to get crafty once in a while.
Man.
You know,
Everyone's added a finger or
Nobody's
shorted a
perfect,
finger
bro.
from time to time.
You know.
2 left feet.
Yeah,
it happens
dude.
from time to time.
Sometimes the letter isn't there, and you have to get real good, real fast.
Yeah. Man, back in the I'm sure you won't mind me saying it. Do you know Tom Morris? He tattooed with us at Underground for a long time, tattooed at Trilogy for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So he, we used to work next to each other. And I'll never forget, like, one time doing a nautical star. And, you know, you got, like, the black, white. And, you know, the last thing you always go in order. And I did, like, black. And he just decided to bounce around and realize, like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I skipped one. I'm going to have 2 blacks together or whatever. I'm just like, you know, when he did it, he was like, shit. I'm just going to have to give you this tattoo. We're just doing a black star, whatever he did to fix it. And I remember at that time just being like, oh, yeah, I could easily have done that. Or, like, you see it so many times, like, you know, 2, like you're saying, an extra finger, skipping a thing on your nautical star, misspelling what's the Bible, what's the philanthropy, Philippians, misspelling Philippians. Everybody's misspelled.
Awesome.
Everybody's misspelled Philippians at some point in their lives.
Or like just any, you know, no Badoy is perfect. You know, I heard that from a kid here in town. We had a guest artist from England once. Man, it was awesome because it was like he had just gotten there. Man, he was so pumped to tattoo with American tattooers. First time he had ever been in the States.
Yeah.
And man, his first tattoo, he had gotten almost all the way done with it. And I went in the back room and I saw the drawing. And again, I was like, there's too many A's going on right here, right now. And I come out there, I'm like, but the funny thing was, I was breaking the kid's balls. I was like, man, what if your first tattoo is like, you fucked it up here in the States? Sure enough, you know, and I came out there and I was like, homie, you need to come back here for a quick second. You just look at this and you tell me what you think is correct.
Right.
And man, sweat just instantly started pouring down his face because he was wrapping this lady up. You know what I mean?
That sucks.
But I think me and Ben like sat back with him, and I was like, "Dude, do this, do that, and man, this thing will be golden."
Right.
You know. But man, his first tattoo in the States, man, he was so bummed out. It was super funny.
That sucks. And that is probably a perfect example of why it's such a tight knit community, because we've all done that stupid shit and had to bail each other out of it.
Yeah, I think I was here not too long, and I had a date wrong. Yeah. And I told this girl, I was like, well, I feel really bad about this. So if you want to, you're welcome to come over to my house and break one thing. And she let her dog come in, and he sprayed diarrhea all over my bed.
Oh, no. Is that for real?
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
And I have no problem with that, because my fuck up, maybe you deserve to come over and break something to my house. And I could just, I was like, man, my record players, my records, and I was like, man, that's the one thing I hope she doesn't break, And she
I can't believe she
showed
took you up on it.
Oh, she fully did.
Wow.
Brought her dog over, and must have fed that dog cheese or something. That dog let loose.
Oh,
and
that's
she
terrible.
stood there for a good long time. And I think I threw my bed, the first bed that I really had bought in a while. And I was like, shit, man,
to the street.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Slept on pillows for the rest of the time.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I can't believe somebody would be bold enough to be like, yeah, I'll break some of your shit. Sure, why not?
But, it was just the fact that I was so stupid to be like, that's the first thing in my head that was going to make it right,
Right.
Yeah, I fixed the tattoo, but man, I was like,
that's awesome.
This will make it right between me and you. We're golden.
That's great. All right, so you're booking a ways in advance, but if people want to keep up with what you're doing, check out your work, it is, what's your Instagram handle?
Jerk1978.
Jerk1978. No regrets Memphis.com or something.
Yeah,
Is that what it is? If you guys didn't know, you've heard No Regrets before, but Paul, who's done the show, when we first started this show, I like roped Paul into being the guest host every time David bailed. So Paul's been on the show. It's been a long time, but he's probably been on like 6 or 8 times if I had to guess. We should get him back on. But they work together. Paul and Joe work together at Noah Grants. Oh yeah, KP's been on as well. So yeah,
Yeah, he was actually the first person that I had met when I came here, and he is the one that kept on bugging me to come. So
okay, yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
He was great. I only know him from that one show. I follow his work, but I've never spent any time with him. But he was an awesome guy. I liked him a lot. So, yeah, Jerk 1978 on Instagram. No Regrets Memphis.com. Just Google No Regrets Memphis. We'll put it all in the show notes. And, man, thanks so much for taking the time. It's a blast.
It was rad.
Yeah. See you guys next time. Don't forget, go to Fireside Tattoo and keep up with what we're doing. And, buy a course. If you can't draw, if you suck at drawing, buy our Foundations course. If you're pretty good at drawing, still buy the Foundations course, right? See you guys next time.